Field at 68 Media Networks Bulldog Broadcast. I'm your host, Dan Dickau. Well, first off, we want to say a big thank you to presenting sponsor McGilvery Environmental, based in the North Idaho Panhandle. You have some big construction environmental needs, whether it's land clearing, cleaning up of sites, building of roads, enormous retaining walls, whatever it may be. Reach out to Kip and his group at McGilvery Environmental. They work from central eastern Washington and all over Idaho and western Montana. If you need some help, give them a call. Also, a couple supporting sponsors, Shoot 360. Spokane has a location. You can check them out at www.shoot360spokane.com. Spokane has one of about 45 locations across the country. And thank you to our new sponsor, Wave Capital. Invest with dancan.com. I've gotten to know Dan Cantiano over the years, and very creative, very resourceful, very honest businessman who is working in the residential lending space for real estate investors. So gotten to know them, gotten to know their offerings, their products, and tons of credibility, tons of honesty in the work that they do, and terrific returns. So if you're looking at some residential real estate investing, reach out to Dan Can at Wave Capital. Again, that's investwithdancan.com. Quick recap of last week. The San Diego game, pretty boring in all honesty. 93-80 win. The flu bug has been going through the team a little bit. Nobody in that game necessarily, I thought, played great. Maybe you could say Ben Gregg broke out a little bit, hit a few three-pointers. I think he was 3 of 3 behind the arc. Graham Ike was solid, but there was just a weird vibe in the gym that night. But it's going to happen on occasion when you play 30 plus games over the course of the season, that you're going to have to bring your own energy at times and get through it. They did, which set up a game that was looking like it was going to be bigger and more important than it eventually became against Washington State on Saturday. And that's simply because Pacific, of all teams, went up to Pullman and got a road win in overtime before they headed up north to Spokane to play Gonzaga. But there was still a big game. Gonzaga hosted Washington State on Saturday. Gonzaga shot over 50% from the field, 10 of 21 from the three-point line. Interesting side note that's got to get cleaned up, though. Washington State shot about 54% from the field, so they're going to have to definitely start trending in the other direction in regards to their defensive execution. When I looked at the KenPom numbers earlier in the year, they were hovering around 20. Now, I believe on the defensive end of the floor, they're around 40 with their defensive efficiency numbers. Offense is still top 5 in the country, but defensive efficiency is going to definitely have to pick up. As mentioned, 10 of 21 from the field. 5 guys were in double figures, led by Graham Ike with 21. Nolan Hickman, I thought, played his best game in a while with 19. But big picture stuff, when you look at Gonzaga, they're one of 2 teams in the country that have 6 players averaging 10 points or more. So you see the balance. You see the opportunities that lots of guys are having. And you're seeing, if one guy doesn't have it one night, next guy steps up, and has an ability. I think that's great in a way, but I also think it can be a struggle in a way when you might be in a close game, in a difficult environment, and you're not quite sure who to rely on. I think the best teams do have balance, but they've got a clear-cut option 1, and then maybe a secondary 1A if that player is in foul trouble. But looking ahead to this week, Gonzaga sits at number 16 in the AP poll. They go up 2. They're number 10 in the net. They're number 9 in KenPom. So analytically, when you look up all of that stuff, if the season were to end right now after the WCC tournament, a 10 is probably going to be, a 3 or a 4 seed. Maybe if you're out of the WCC and it's not as a heavy loaded league as a power conference league, you might drop down to a 5. But all honesty, I think they get through this WCC maybe with 1 or 2 at the most league losses, and those losses better be on the road at, say, a St. Mary's or at, say, a San Francisco. That where it's going to be a clear cut quad 1 game. I can still see Gonzaga sneaking up into a 3 seed, but 3, probably 4. You never know about a 5. But I just don't think they would fall to a 5, barring any kind of slide here when you get to the middle part of the WCC. But big week coming up. Gonzaga's got a road test at Oregon State.
The world's leading immersive basketball training experience that combines in-person skill development with digital gamification and virtual competition. At Shoot 360, you will train with our coaches, measure your skills with our proprietary technology, and track your progress on the Shoot 360 mobile app. Shoot 360 Spokane. Unlock your game.
Oregon State, the Beavers, they were kind of a darling a couple of years ago when they made a surprising run to the Elite Eight for Wayne Tinkle. He ended up going into the transfer portal. Unfortunately for him, didn't get the right guys, and so they've kind of taken a slide the last couple of years. But he's retooled. He's gone the international route. 9 international players on their roster, and it's provided a unique way for them to play. The ball's not sticking as much in certain guys' hands as maybe it has in the past within their offensive attack and flow, but they've got a really good 3-4 in Michael Ratai, averages around 17 a game. I think he's about 7.5 rebounds a game as well. Very skilled. He's improved year to year, in regards to his physical presence, his physicality, his skill set, and clearly his confidence has grown as well. So he's a really good player. Gonzaga is going to have to take good care of making life difficult for him. The other unique thing is because now Oregon State, Washington State are in the WCC, you have the matchup at home. Obviously, you know what to expect. Gonzaga has been to Pullman in years, so they know what to expect with Beasley. But to go down to Gill Coliseum and Corvallis should be a unique challenge and a fun challenge. Seats about 10,000. They don't typically draw very well unless they're playing, say, University of Oregon. I've called games in the past, even when they played Arizona, and it's not a full sellout crowd. I would be curious and interested to see on Thursday, as I'm going to be calling the game for CBS Sports Network, what that crowd looks like, because it's a Thursday night, 8 p.m. game. Corvallis, if you don't know, it's about 45, 50 minutes from Eugene, which is south, or from Portland. It's about an hour and a half down to Corvallis and get to Oregon State. So that's going to be a challenge. Oregon State in the past has played a lot of zone, mixing up some 2-3 and some 1-3-1s, and then offensively, they've done some box sets where you zipper a guy up and then you get into either pick and roll, high-low looks. You might go wide pin downs out of it. You'll see some dribble handoff actions, but Wayne Tinkle does a really good job. He's one of the great guys in the coaching industry, and I like what he's doing with the team this year. Second game of the week, is a home game against Santa Clara, and it's a great one in regards to I think the league is top heavy this year. Now, I don't think it's top heavy where you're going to say there's 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. I would like to say there's 3 teams in the NCAA tournament, but right now it's difficult to even say 2 teams out of this league, if Gonzaga wins the tournament title, are in the league. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that, St. Mary's just doesn't wow you with the way they play. But then, over the course of the year, you just continue to see their progression and you become impressed by the end of the year and say that's a tournament team. But most AP voters, most average fans don't see that. But if you look at St. Mary's numbers, they're hovering right around 30 in the net. They're hovering right around 30 in the Ken Palm. So barring any bad losses, and when I say bad losses in league this year, that's LMU at home, that's Pacific home or away, that's Portland home or away, that's San Diego home and away. That would be, my other second team that I think would be in the NCAA tournament out of the league. But with that top heaviness that I mentioned, you're talking San Francisco, Oregon State, Washington State. Those teams can't slip up to the teams that I mentioned when I referenced St. Mary's a second ago. Washington State already had one of those by losing at home to Pacific. So now, if that's the case, you let one of those slide, you got to hopefully find a way to knock off Gonzaga home or away, or you have to win at St. Mary's because those are going to be quad one opportunities. So that's a big picture look. But when you look at Santa Clara, Adama Ball flirted with the NBA draft last year, came back. It has been a little up and down, inconsistent this year, but still a tremendous player. We remember the game winner he hit last year down at the Levy Center. Carlos Stewart, you might remember 2 years ago, the point guard was terrific. Gonzaga had problems with him. He transferred to LSU, had some injuries last year. He actually transferred back to Santa Clara. So that'll be an interesting matchup for whether Hickman or Nemhart gets that matchup because he's a big, physical, strong guard who can get in the lane. And then you've got your Christoph Tillys and your Jake Ensmingers on the inside. They're new wing that's got good size that can shoot at Mahi a little bit. He poses a challenge in regards to matchups and understanding awareness of where he is on the floor at all times. But Santa Clara is always one of those teams where they're unbelievably disciplined. They're unbelievably good. You want to see more from them, and they've been knocking on the door of the NCAA tournament for a number of years. So appreciate you listening. Again, thanks to our sponsors, whether it's McGillivray Environmental, Shoot 360, or our new sponsor, Invest with Dan Can at Wave Capital.